Hey guys, welcome to the next vlog of News Hamster. So today is the Women's Day special. So today is the Women's Day, so a very happy Women's Day to all of you. So we are gonna discuss a little bit of details and facts and figures with regards to Women's Day today. And of course, we need to know about it. We need to understand what these things are and things like that. So the first thing we have at hand, so I have my fact sheet here. Of course, I can't remember all these facts, so I have it. I will read it out to you so you can understand it. So first thing, the first question arises is, why do we celebrate Women's Day? And of course, there are a lot of days that we celebrate, and we have to know why we celebrate this particular day. So it dates to around 100 years ago, around 108 years ago, where in 1909 around 15,000 women came down on the streets of America to protest, and this was a momentous thing for us to note, for all the world to note, that so many women came down on the streets to protest. Now, what were they protesting for? They were protesting for equal rights in wages. They were protesting for employment, the right kind of wages to get paid, and also they were protesting for suffrage, to give them the voting rights. But then this was recognized by the Socialist Party of America, and they said, this is a momentous thing, and we have to call it the International Working Women's Day. So from that day onwards, they started calling it the International Working Women's Day. But it was not very profound until in 1910 it became official. They called it the official International Working Women's Day. Before that, it was very informal in nature, but then it became official in 1910. So we have to go forward to Russia in 1913, where Russia very informally set up this trend that March 8th will be celebrated as the International Working Women's Day. So we have two countries at hand, that USA and Russia has an important role to play, because Russia set this trend that March 8th will be International Working Women's Day, and also Russia gave a holiday for every year as the March 8th will be the International Women's Day. But we have to understand that in 1913 Russia was ruled by a Tsar, a king, and of course the Russians, the people, were not happy with the kind of rule that they were under. So we have to know that in 1917 the Russian Revolution happened, but before that, in 1914, Russia also took part in the World War I. And when 1917 the Russian Revolution happened, and a lot of men came down on streets to protest against the kind of rule they were facing, women also came down to protest for their rights, for their work, and all those things. So we have to note here that when the Russian Revolution happened, where people predominantly protested for something like the change in the government, women protested during the Russian Revolution for equal rights, equal wages, equal inheritance rights, and of course for suffrage. And then as the World War ended and the Russian Revolution also came to an end with the winning of socialism, we have to note that women got what they wanted in Russia. Women got the kind of equal rights. Also, women got the voting rights in Russia. So that amounts to a lot of things, and that's where the status of women was kind of empowered, and then it was again properly called as the International Working Women's Day. So these two countries played an important role, and also a lot of other countries that supported them in this. But then the term, if we refer to it today, it's not called as International Working Women's Day today, it's called as International Women's Day. Now, why isn't it called as the Working Women's Day? It's because the word working in this nomenclature seemed very leftist to a lot of people. It seemed very leftist, the word working. So they got rid of the word. Now, when you talk about the word working, it's not specifically related to the women who are employed in the organized sector or the unorganized sector. It refers to everyone, because women at home also are working. That's work that they are doing, feeding the family, preparing the food, and all those things. So the word working was gotten rid of, and then now it's celebrated as International Women's Day, March 8th. Some countries give it a holiday, some countries don't, but internationally UN recognized it as a day, and hence we celebrate the International Women's Day on that day. And the theme for this year is Each for Equal. Hashtag Each for Equal is the theme for this year. But we have to also note about the three waves of feminism that influenced the Women's Day celebration. Women's Day was predominantly to give women the equal rights, to give women the equal wages, to have them empowered and to come into the society equal to the ranks of men, and but today the trend of celebrating Women's Day has gone far ahead of that. We have started to give discounts, we started to host parties, we are doing a lot of things that are not exactly related to what International Working Women's Day stood for. But then if people understand the kind of things that are happening in the society, and that's more than enough, right? So three waves of feminism also influenced Women's Day. The first wave spoke about the contractual rights. The first wave spoke about inheritance rights. Then came the second wave, which spoke about voting rights. It spoke about a lot of other things like empowerment and so on. And the third wave came down, which aimed to correct the flaws that the second wave had. So it also spoke about stereotypy and things like that. So that's the thing about this three Women's Day celebration. I mean, these three feminism waves that influence the Women's Day celebrations. Well, last part of this video is some statistics that I'm going to present with regards to the Indian scenario, some statistics that we need to be aware of, what is happening in India today and where women stand in India today. First thing is the sex ratio. What is the meaning of sex ratio? Sex ratio is the number of women on men. So there are 930 women per 1,000 men in India. That means that there are 48% of population that is female and 51% is male. Now, talking about the literacy rate, on an average, India's literacy rate is 74.4%, but for women, it's 65%. 65% of women are literate, but when it comes to males, that is 82% of males are literate. There is a little bit of variety when I talk about literacy rate. And then we can talk about the women in workforce. Those women are working in the, organized sector or the unorganized sector. The workforce today stands at 23.6%, which is very, very low when compared to men, because 78% of men are in the workforce, obviously. So women are very less, they're 23.6%, and that's very a skewed ratio we have at hand. And the labor force participation rate of women has been on a decline, and the number of women who are participating in work or wanting to be employed is also reducing to 16.4%. And the gap between the pay, I mean the pay of the men and women, has been shrinking. That's a good thing. The reports say that it's come down to around 16%. It's come down to where it was a lot more earlier. The gap between the pay of men and women has been shrinking. Well, let's talk about the female mortality rate. That is the women who, I mean, you can talk about the maternal mortality rate who die during childbirth. It stands for 167 women per 1 lakh women, meaning to say that this is quite less. Actually, it's good that we have worked for it, the government has worked for it, the people have worked for it, and it stands for 167 women per 1 lakh women. That is only 167 per 1 lakh women die during childbirth. Well, 51% of women in India are subjected to anemia. They are anemic. I'm not talking about malnutrition and stunting, I'm talking about anemia. And then 44,000 women die every year during the time of pregnancy due to pregnancy related causes. They die because of that. So these are the few statistics that I have today for you. And talking about the women's reservation bill that spoke to provide 33% reservation to women, let's talk about the parliament. Today, out of 543 MPs, 62 are women. That means every 10 parliamentarian is a woman, and that's very low. That's very low compared to what the bill promised and how it's supposed to go on. And it has to be increased. But the Factly report also says that the number of women contesting elections has come up, and the number of women winning the elections has also come up. So that's a good scenario for us. But then the participation has to increase more in the employment sector, and the women's participation in all the other sectors has to increase. Well, just want to end this video on the last note saying we have come past the era when we wanted to put the legislation, I mean to put the fact about women empowerment into legislations. We wanted to empower women of India. We have come past that. We have come past people like Maya Angelou, Mel Brooks fighting for women rights. I think it's time to put what we talk about women empowerment into practice. I think we have to change our mindset. How many times have you expected your wife to behave in a certain manner? How many times have you expected your girlfriend to behave in a certain manner? How many times have you expected your mother to talk to you in a certain manner? So the simple thing is, charity begins at home. You have to understand that if you are a man women are equal to you, and there, no one is created special, no one is created, superior or inferior. Everyone is equal. That's why the theme for today says each for equal, where everyone is created equal. And all these things have helped us. The government schemes have helped us, like the Janani Suraksha Yojana, Mativrata Suraksha Yojana. So many things, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, have all done their bits. And acts like Maternity Benefit Act, Sexual Harassment at Workplace Act, all these have done their bits. But I don't think they are ever successful until we do what we are supposed to do, until we mature as a society and we consider women as equal counterparts, because without her, the society will not exist. This is Sakleen reporting, not live from Bengaluru. A very happy Women's Day to all of you. Don't forget to subscribe to News Hamster, like the video and share it. Until next time, take care.